stopping this war and feeding people and getting the sort of key infrastructure in place in order to build a political solution which will take away the cause for new wars.
I mean, thank you. That's a really nice way to segue to Minister Manal, because one of the roles that Saudi Arabia has been focused on is the notion of a two-state solutions, and the global alliance that you've been working with France and other countries of the global south to make sure that we don't lose sight of the original focus of the Arab Peace Initiative that your country has driven as well. Are the two compatible today? The Trump 20-point peace plan, the resolution that was signed by the Security Council, does that framework sit side by side very well with that global alliance for a two-state solution? Or do you think that it's now become a challenge? The reason I raise it is that there's a sense in which that original idea may have been watered down or become vaguer within the context of the 20-point peace plan.
Well, thank you, Comfort. And, I want to first start by thanking the State of Qatar and commending them for this very important forum, which is a demonstration and a testimony to Qatar's role in bringing stability and security not only to our part of the world, but the whole world at large. And thank you also for International Crisis Group for the great work that you've been doing. I want to correct one thing, and I want to say the Global Alliance for the Implementation of the Two-State Solution is an idea that came out after many different diplomatic efforts. Spain has led the way beforehand, and the Global Alliance actually between Norway, Saudi Arabia, and the EU, and even that Saudi Arabia's partner in this as a chair of the Arab OIC. So it brings in a lot of partners into this. And I want to say that the Global Alliance has centered around the idea of implementation and around the fact that almost everyone in the international community agrees that the two-state solution is the only solution forward. So if that is so, then it is asking people what is it that they are going to do to bring this implementation and make it possible. You ask me, is this compatible with the 20-point peace plan? I would say yes, of course, because also the 20-point peace plan was something that Egypt to Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, and Jordan and others have also played a very important role in shaping with the United States. It actually brings hope that there is a peace plan that has the President of the United States be committed to, and we all know that a leader-driven diplomacy is the best diplomacy and the most best way to ensure implementation, which is exactly brings us back to the Global Alliance and the effort that has been put there. And if you see that the 20-point plan does not only address the crisis that is happening in front of us, but it actually talks about Palestinian self-determination, and it talks about a political path, which again is very much aligned with the Global Alliance. We hope that moving forward, first, I think I want to also go back to say that I want to say that the most crucial thing avoid redefinition and moving, again, very important objectives that the plan laid forward. Whether it is the importance of sequencing or whether it is the importance to realize that, first of all, Gaza is not a case on its own. This is extremely important. Gaza is about the Palestinian conflict. It is not just about Gaza. So we have to be very, very careful about that. And if we talk about security, or if we talk about humanitarian access, or if we talk about the plight of moving from one stage to the other, we cannot do that in absence of the ultimate objective. And the ultimate objective is security for all. It is regional integration, which is embedded in the realization of a Palestinian state. If we don't have that in mind, then there is no plan in the world will be able to drive us not only from one stage to the next, but also to prevent another spiral of violence.
Can I, Minister Espen wants to come in, but I just want to ask you a further question. You seem to imply, or you are suggesting that there should be consequences for any of the actors who seeks to block the process. What kind of consequences are you suggesting?
Well, one important element which I have alluded to, which is we cannot be open to redefinition and renegotiation of what we have already agreed to, and also what was issued as a Security Council resolution that was passed and welcomed by all parties. So we cannot go back and redefine what we mean by ceasefire, what we mean even by disarmament, what we mean by a Palestinian-led process in governing Gaza, also what is implied in unification of Gaza and the West Bank, and the ultimate objective of the Palestinians' right to self-determination. We cannot be redefining these things back and forth and getting ourselves into a sidetrack that gets us into so many details about what, who, when, and we lose sight of the overall and the core of the conflict.
Yeah.
And I want to say that we have seen this movie before. We have seen this cycle before, although the last episode in Gaza was very devastating and maybe the most devastating, but we have arrived at this stage before where there is a war in Gaza, then there is an engagement by the international community, then there is a search for humanitarian assistance, and then political fatigue, and then we forget about it. But only that we could see another more violent cycle of violence erupt. And the idea which is central to this, if we do not ensure the security and the political aspiration of Palestinians being fulfilled, then there is no security for anyone, including Israel and including the rest of the region, but also the world at large.
Espen, I know you want to come in on that, and a question that I want from all four of you as well is to be very specific about what do we mean about linking Gaza and the West Bank together in practical terms, what that means within the context of this current plan. Espen, please.
No, I just want to say that what Dr. Manal Radwan just said is just so incredibly important. It's a 20-point plan. All the points matter. They are connected. It's a compromise between several inputs. It has been endorsed by the Security Council, and we had a very impressive display of top leaders in Sharm el-Sheikh saying that this is the plan, and 4 guarantors to look after that, including both the host country, Qatar, and Egypt, of course, and Turkey and the US. So it's very, very, very important that all these elements are implemented, because there will be people who would only want pieces of it, and there's a real risk that there will be a lot of attempts to try to say, I mean, I prefer point this, that, and 7, you know, whatever, but not the rest. And if that happens, the whole thing will unravel. And I just so strongly want to endorse what she just said, because this is the outcome of of fast but very sincere conversation of where we have to go. And point 19 of the 20-point plan is what points towards the long-term objective of a Palestinian state. It could have been clearer, but it's clear enough that it suggests where we are supposed to head. And I want to say one thing, that there are so many Western countries who say only if the PA reforms. Well, I'm all for reform, and I'm actually working with them on specific reforms every single day. But we cannot say that as you know, the right to self-determination is not dependent on whether you fulfill a reform. I mean, you cannot get it that way. It's the other way around. You shall be independent, and we will help you, and reform will take you faster to that road. That's 2 different things.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Can I ask the four of you, because as we're watching what is happening in Gaza, we're watching a very different acceleration of annexation happening in the West Bank, and you've all pointed to linking Gaza with the West Bank, but what does that mean in practical terms, especially vis-a-vis a messaging, enforcement, consequences towards Israel? Minister, let me start with you, because I know that you've often voiced your concern and asked for the European Union to take a stronger stance on Israel. And right now, I don't see how you get to link the two without addressing this conundrum that you've raised yourself.
For me, it's three things. The first one is to make clear that we will never recognize any type of annexation. That is completely out of question. That's as a principled position. The second one, in the short term, is very simple things, like who will be delivering the humanitarian aid and water, justice, police and security. All those things must be from channeling to training, to taking care of that under one single Palestinian Authority. Once again, let's not duplicate. That's the first way of bringing both of them together.
And you heard what Minister Espen said about this notion that you want a reformed PA, that idea that the European member states often push. You will take that message back to your other colleagues.
And I think that one thing is wrong. We are asking the Palestinian Authority to deliver as if we were talking about a European state. When we see that they are being all the time undermined, we see how the taxes that they should be getting are being withheld by Israel. So if we give them the means to be able to deliver, then we can hold them accountable. But first, I agree totally with Aspen, let them deliver. And at the end, for me, bringing both together is very simple. Is Gaza and the West Bank connected by a corridor with an exit to the sea and its capital in Jerusalem, in East Jerusalem, under one single authority. We start with very simple things, water, justice, police, security, and then the final horizon is very clear.
Thank you very much. Minister, please, over to you.
Well, again, I mean, the connectivity between Gaza and the West Bank is extremely important. You know, we cannot speak about final solution. We cannot speak about stability in the region without, as I mentioned, having the Palestinian state. And Palestinian state means Gaza and the West Bank, all territories occupied on the 5th of June 1967. The situation in the West Bank is not, you know, is even more worse than in Gaza. You know, every day you have attacks by the settlers to terrorize the civilians. They are pushing them from remote areas into a heavily populated cities with one objective later on to displace them. And this is the same what they are trying to do in Gaza. So settlers' violence, also the confiscation of lands, settlement activities, this settlement, I mean, plan to which will divide the north of West Bank from the south, it will make the realization of the Palestinian state on the ground impossible. So we have to be careful also on what's happening in the West Bank. And again, as Espen mentioned, we have to deal with the Trump peace plan as an integral part, as one unit. It's been stipulated that withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza should be implemented within the second phase of the Trump peace plan. And this is very, very important. And without that, I mean, we cannot talk about stability in the region. Also, political horizon in the Trump peace plan, this is very, very important. It's not all about security measures, about ceasefire, about humanitarian and medical aid. It's more than that. Without creating hope for the people in Gaza and the West Bank, and without having a political horizon which will lead to the realization of the Palestinian state, I don't think that we will have stability. And one final issue with regard to the connectivity between Gaza and the West Bank is the Palestinian Authority. And this is very important. We have to empower the Palestinian Authority to be deployed in Gaza in order to ensure the unity and the integration between Gaza and the West Bank.
Thank you very much. We've got just over 2 minutes left, and I want to end with Manal and then with Minister Espen as well. How do you avoid a situation, Manal, where proposed peace, but one that reflects truly what Palestinians want? How does Saudi see its role in making sure that the peace that comes in is not one that is imposed from the outside, but it lives up to the expectations that you set?
Well, first of all, it needs to be Palestinian-led. The Palestinians need to be front and center. And that is very obvious from all the diplomatic efforts that we are trying to do, and the voice of the Palestinians that we want to carry over everywhere, including with the United States. But let me say one thing about reform, because I think your question is extremely important. Look, the Palestinians have been reforming for the past 30 years. And we have President Mahmoud Abbas had put a robust reform plan that he committed himself to, because this is good for the Palestinians. Saudi Arabia, of course, is committed, and we work on a daily basis with the PA to help in its reform plan. But what we need is actually to really get into a sustainable peace and security, and to end this conflict, and to implement President Trump's 20 peace plan, and to implement the Security Council resolution, is a reformed Israeli government. We have an Israeli government that opposes the two-state solution. We have an Israeli government that has officials continuously entice against Palestinians, against Arabs, against Muslims. We don't see that we have a partner for peace, not even a partner for a sustainable ceasefire. So that is the actual and the important reform that we are hoping to see.
I'm going to cut it off there, Espen. I was going to bring you in because the way in which you ended, I think, is already an important point, that you need a partner for peace on the other side, and that is part of the next sort of critical conundrum that we need to address when we think about all the lessons from all the way that all four of you have worked effectively as partners to get us to September, and now to get to the next going months. Espen, you're going to force me to give you the final word. Please go ahead. I'm not going to stop you.
But for exactly the reason that Manal mentioned, we have to take away the de facto veto that Israel has endured for decades.
Right.
They have a voice, but they cannot be the sole decider of what happens to a territory that they illegally occupy.
A perfect way to end our session. Thank you so much, all four of you.